I know I'm beating a dead horse into the afterlife with this one, but it's like, we gotta. Can we talk about Final Fantasy 15 right quick and how disappointing it was? Like, everybody and their mama already had something to say about all this, but it's like, it was disappointing. Like for real. Like yo, compared to like what it was supposed to be, you know, and I ain't even talking about versus 13. I'm actually talking about Final Fantasy 15. Like when the first Final Fantasy 15 trailer came out in 2013 when it was renamed. That's what I'm talking about. And it's like it's just so much wasted potential. That's just what I wanted to talk about. You know. And it's like before I get into this, it's like if you're one of those people who like Final Fantasy 15, it's like that's good. You know, that's dope. You know, I ain't gonna be one of those people who's like, oh, it's not a real Final Fantasy game, and if you like it, if you like it, do you? That's cool. It's great that there were so many people who liked it, but I just want to like give some criticisms and thoughts and whatnot. The first thing is the gameplay. The gameplay for Final Fantasy 15 is just so subpar for what it could be. Like the gameplay is like it's so slow and heavy. Like it's like the director Tabata. You know, everybody knows his name by now. He's like he's the guy who made it this way. But it's like he's the director, and it's like he tried to go for this whole like. It felt like he was trying to go for this whole like realistic thing. Like that's why he was trying to make it so that the characters' movements felt like they had like weight to them. And there's nothing like specifically wrong with giving characters weight in their movements in video games. But when it comes to something like this, something like this, find this game in particular, it's like this isn't one of those kind of games. This isn't one of those kind of action RPGs where a lot of weight to the characters' movements is beneficial. If anything, it hurts the gameplay a lot more than it helps because there are a few, moments in this game where it's very clear that these characters are like beyond human. Noctis is very much not an ordinary human, but it's like it's the way that he plays, the way he controls that go against that. Like you can have moments right where Noctis is like here's a big one when Noctis is fighting against Titan, the Titan. It's like there's such a what's the word? Like a disparity between what happens in cutscenes sometimes and what happens in gameplay, and that's common sometimes, you know, in video games. But for Final Fantasy 15, it's so apparent. It's so bad. Like you'll have like Noctis with like the Titan fight, where he's like you got like the giant Titan, you know, he'll step on little old Noctis, and Noctis he can like hold him back, and he's like he's struggling now, but he still manages to push him off right now. And then a little bit after that, you have it to where he's basically just playing like tennis with Titan's arm. You know, Titan's he's swinging on him and and then you got Noctis, he's just like parrying and all this stuff, right? But then it's like right after that, you to go back into the gameplay, and Noctis he's just this little dude, just like that's like what? Like it's such a disconnect, right? It's such a disconnect because it's like you can't go from these like huge feats in characters' abilities in cutscenes and then in gameplay, it doesn't even like reflect what they're capable of like that, right? Like the Noctis, he just fights like a normal human when he shouldn't. Like his attacks, they should be a lot more quick. They should be a lot more snappier. They should be a lot more like dynamic. Something like I compare it to something like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 2. Or it doesn't even have to be Kingdom Hearts 2. It could be any other action game, Bayonetta, God of War, Devil May Cry, or Nier Automata, you know? And it's like, ah, I'm rambling. So sorry if I get held up while I'm trying to explain, get these thoughts off my mind. But it's just like his fighting ability in gameplay should reflect what he's capable of in cutscenes. Like he shouldn't be this heavy, slow character because that's not what he is. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't. He's that's not how he should control. You know. And then there's this other parts that just kind of like conflict with lore in a sense. Like the way he fights. It's like again, like when Noctis fights, it's like the way he fights. It's like there's no like technique to it. It just feels like he's just like flailing around. Like it's just so unappealing. Like there's nothing about the combat really, other than like the warping and the link attacks with teammates and whatever. That's like stylish and flashy and like catches your attention visually. But other than that, it's just like not appealing. And it's like Noctis's gameplay in general is just not up to par with the other characters, which is like really ridiculous. Like they literally like, and people are just saying this like it's so ridiculous how Noctis is like the least fun to play as, and he is the main character. Like that is a really big problem. But it's like I want to say they fixed this by now, but it's like, because in a way they have, because it's like Armature Unleashed is like one of the best updates in my opinion for Final Fantasy 15, because it's like a complete overhaul for Noctis's gameplay. All right, it pretty much makes him play like he should have been playing. And so many people say this in the comment section when you watch Armature Unleashed videos. This is how he should have been playing from the very start. His combos, they utilize all of his weapons. It's a lot more snappy and flashy and dynamic and stylish and all that stuff, and a lot heavier hitting. He's using all of his weapons at once, and he's really like cool ways. He's warping all over the place and doing all this cool stuff. And like the way he fights, he's not just like flailing around anymore. He actually has some like technique with the way that he fights now, compared to before, where it looked like he fought like he never used a weapon before. When we know, according to the anime, he trained how to fight with weapons since he was like 8, and he's like 20 in the game. So it's like this is just how he should have been playing from the beginning. This is pretty much how he fought in the 2013 trailer. And it's like someone was just paying attention up there at Square and on the development team. Somebody was paying attention. They were just like, Noctis doesn't really feel like, like how he's supposed to, from what we've seen in those trailers. But Armature Unleashed definitely fixes that. But what I do think they could have done a little better when it came to Armature Unleashed is that I feel like they shouldn't have made it like a limited thing. It's an item that you have to equip. I feel like it should have just been like, if you equip this item, Noctis' whole like base moveset is just overhauled to this. Instead, you kind of have to you have to fill up the armature gauge to go into it for a limited amount of time. And it's like, no, like this should have just been how he plays from now on if you have this item equipped. And it's like, Armature Unleashed just finally puts Noctis' gameplay on par with the other characters. But other than that, speaking of the other characters are pretty much fine when it comes to their gameplay. Prompto, he's a weapons guy. He uses guns, grenades, etc. Ignis, he has his old elemental knife thing, which that's pretty cool. Gladio, he does what he's supposed to. He's the big heavy sword dude, and he pulls it off pretty well. Especially that dual wielding attack that he has that does like a ton of damage. That's really good. And yeah, I think that's it for gameplay right now. Uh, I guess I'll talk about the story. Now, the story, I feel like we might have to take a little more time for this one. Because the story, bro, is like, oh, that's one of the. That's a big problem.